we know everybody here, and some of you can get up and be part of the performance. Some of you, of course, are here for the love memory of Isadora. So tonight I'm going to try to do something a little bit unique. We have 18 dancers tonight. Count. 18 pairs of legs waiting back there. Because everybody felt it was so important to be part of something that is unending. And I captioned it time, but actually it's timeless. There is no time for Isadora's dances. And so timelessness in this material, and in the humanity, and in the art that she represented, is what we're really going to be about. But the dancing and the lectures will take us back into a time tunnel so that we can relate the time of Isadora to our time. The first slide, if we have it screwed up correctly, is Isadora Duncan. About 1915. The dance, Ave Maria. Now, Ave Maria is the title of the song by Schubert that Isadora created the dance. My mother was in Adler's theater when he gave Isadora the theater for the purpose of a performance. My mother knew nothing about Ave Maria and not too much about Isadora Duncan. But she came with the rest of the intellectuals of that period because of the fame of her freedom, her beauty, and her intelligence. My mother was sitting in the audience while Isadora was dancing the Ave Maria, and suddenly she found herself in tears. Why? She buried her face, embarrassed, and then she picked up her face and saw that everybody else in the audience was also crying. I puzzled about this. What is it that led a dancer who was not a churchgoer to create a dance to the Ave Maria? And then I realized that this dance that she always did at the opening of every program in the Soviet Union with her children was a dance created for the children of the world, and to indicate the fragility of motherhood and childhood and the necessity of the order, of the time being of the social order to protect these children. And with the news coming from San Salvador, I suddenly remembered a little boy who was about 10, who showed us around the ruins, and he said proudly, looking at the Mayan ruins, "No more blood sacrifice. We have found water." This was 10 years ago. I don't know that the little boy is still alive. Probably not. Maybe they will find water and there'll be no more bloodshed. But I dedicate this number to him and to all the children that need protection. Ave Maria by Schubert. see is the fourth generation of the Duncan work. First there was Isadora, then there were her pupils, the school, then there were their pupils, the American Duncans, the Russian Duncans, the German Duncans, and now the fourth generation, who I have only taught their teachers. So this is a continuum. The groups today in New York, we have Jean Vashtiani teaching at Turtle Bay. We have Laurie Bella teaching at her own studio on 26th Street. And we have some new group now, the performing of the repertory group, which is an assorted group of individual dancers. You will find material for them on the table if you're interested to pursue what is happening today in the Duncan performance area. Now we are looking at Botticelli. And this was Isadora's first inspiration for dancing. She could find no teachers that were adequate to handle the creative necessities of the dance as she envisioned it. And looking at these dancers in the reproduction, when she was quite a small child, she saw the kind of dance that she thought she could do. Later, many years later, in Florence, she sat for hours in front of this painting and imagined dances that would suit these dancers that she sees there. They are also perhaps a representation of her own family. Her mother, the pianist, the musician, her brothers, Raymond and Augustine, and her sister, Elizabeth. And Isadora, of course, all three graced in one. So that here you have a family who gave their own performances in order to keep themselves going. At a time when Gertrude Stein, her neighbor, was a very, very wealthy woman compared to their needs, and they had frequently to climb over the walls to sneak apples, as they explained to Gertrude Stein many years later in Paris. But the dances we're going to see are going to repeat some of this mythology. Isadora created them for her school about 1915 in her second school in Bellevue in Paris. And the girls were young and beautiful, and at that time there was a volume of poetry issued, Chansons Bilitis by Pierre Louis. And Isadora was very shocked to find that they considered her innocent dances part of this lesbian society that was represented in these poems. But still, the idea of beautiful girls dancing together, barefooted in Greek clothing, was still a startling vision for these ladies. And no matter what, this idea somehow of Greek pursued Isadora, even though she herself claimed no such thing. But her inspiration was Greek. And interestingly enough, I heard a lecture the other day on Greek art. Greek art, he said, was predicated on humanity, heroism, and divinity. And then I suddenly realized that these are also the subject matters of Isadora's art. And so looking at these, you will try to establish whether they are heroic, human, or divine. Perhaps a little bit of all runs through all of the dances. And then these little Schubert waltzes, which Isadora created for her dances, not for herself, because many of the dances that were done by the girls were Isadora's dances originally, and then when her children died, she passed them on to her girls. Now the girls at this period were between 15 and 16, and so the material is geared for youth, and you can apply your mythology. When I presented these dances for the first time, it was 1971, I recreated these dances for the Westchester Ballet. It was 1971, and the man who was running the stage got very excited. He ran downstairs and came up with a piece of paper. It was very old, and he looked at it and he said, "Here is Isadora's girls' program." They had danced in this theater on the exact date in 1917, and this was 1971, and they had done these Schubert waltzes. So this is part of the mystique that follows me around. But today we're going to see a performance done by the contemporary dancers. This is the repertory dancers, excuse me. All right, now let's get Kate ready to bear with me while we get this moved. I've done something galore with the tape. We always get tape cover with the tape. Yeah. Adrian, do you know this machine? Step out. Okay, Lori, thank you, Lori. another situation in the Duncan Way. Why no men? Now you notice we have finally a male dance. Now, quite by accident, Isidore didn't plan it that way, but there were boys in the early schools. But when economy came to be important, the boys were the first to lose their status because Isidore felt that it was more important for the girls to get this head start. Boys were being taken care of, male. But she wanted somehow to change the image that woman had of herself. And in the next dances, you will see in Chopin, she danced with the partner. What is the male gesture? What does he do that we can learn? Now, this had never occurred. Men dance men, women, only the Oriental. And here Isidora dared to take the role of the male. This dance that you saw was Hermes. Not only did she take the role, but she used male prototypes, archetypes, as her image, so that women could learn a source of strength, besides that of the Amazon, by the way, which was her favorite photograph with which she traveled all the time. But she was looking for something freer and not pinned and not corseted, but open and muscular. And so, in the Chopin, she played with the idea of partnership. You're going to see two dances from the Chopin repertoire. The first one a prelude and the second a mazurka. To me, these are very, very early dances, probably done on her first trip to England when she started using the Chopin program. Then her first trip to Russia in 1905, she was doing the Chopin program before the Gluck. And when I was in Venice one day wandering through the little narrow streets, I saw an antique shop. And in the antique shop there was a placard. And on the placard it said something in Italian, and underneath it said Isidore Duncan. I ran inside. What was it saying on that placard? My Italian was not that good. Ran back into the back. He came out with a book, a biography of Isidore in Italian, and he looked up the passage for me, and he translated. Where my feet go, there is my fortune. And this little prelude of uncertainty, a prelude to Isidore's life, indicates that. And in the second dance, she talks about, or dances about, a partner, and not being ready to take a partner. And finally, she chooses the audience to be her partner. So these two little dances give you some idea of the subject matter that Isidora was dealing with. The Chopin dances particularly were biographical, whereas the Gluck dances were theatrical. We'll talk about those later. Now, if we can have the technique, we will go on. I think that's Chopin first. for the inspiration for the next little dance that she's going to sing. She looked at these little figurines as a source of inspiration, not to copy, but to see what created a movement and to be itself the image that the sculptor might have been looking at when he created this movement. So now we will see the Chopin music. Now, I chose this one because the next dance is something I doubt whether any of you have ever seen, no matter how many performances you've gone to Duncan dancing. Because we're going to see a dance that Isadora only did when she was having a party. Don't forget that Paris, the Fitzgerald's Paris, was a big party place with one ongoing party. Isadora was a party person too. The story with Fitzgerald, to give you an idea, Fitzgerald came into this restaurant and there was Isadora sitting, and his wife was with him, and he ran to Isadora and sat at her feet immediately. And his wife didn't know how to top that, so she jumped out the stairs, down the staircase, in order to compete with Isadora. But the image of the high life of the jet set was very prevalent in that period. And the dance that Isadora did, that I learned from Anna, and that the young lady you're going to see also learned from a pupil of Anna's, and I'll talk to you later about the heritage and how we get to do all these dances, is a dance by Moskovsky, Spanish dance number 1. Now that also brings me to another thing about Isadora, which isn't too well known. She played around with the idea of various ethnic and national dances. We did an Irish jig. We did various other kind of dances that gave you the character of another kind of group. There were Russian dances, there were German dances, there were Slavic dances, there were Italian dances, Irish jigs, all kinds of things that gave us a knowledge of the other kind of the world. She envisioned an international school. And this little Spanish dance had that flavor. But it is not a Spanish dance any more than Moskovsky's music is a Spanish music. It's in the manner of. But you get the idea of what Isadora was searching for, that freedom, for the intensity of movement. So now we will see the little Spanish dance of Moskovsky. Judy, do you have to wait? Yeah. Let's go. All right, we'll give us a little moment. How much? Come and tell us. Next time is last time. No, what happened? Levien and thought it might be a good idea to solve their education problem because they had a tremendous illiterate peasantry to that degree and that didn't know how to read and write. And it occurred to them that if you started educating the children, culturize the children, perhaps the parents might become involved in the society and the children would represent the completely new culture. And Isidore, of course, that's exactly what she thought. Dance was the vehicle for a complete education. With it went music and art and all the other things that go to make a complete person. And so, the Soviet Union in 1921 gave her 35 orphans. Isadora found that she also had to perform for people who knew nothing even about their own revolution. She created dances from the workers' songs that dealt with the revolution, and also created several dances to the Scriabin etudes, which were in the history of our art might have been called agitprop. That is, they had a function. They had to tell the peasants what their revolution was about. They may not have known, seriously. They were faced with a fact, and many of them were ignorant of what it was that their new life was to offer to them. And so Isadora created these dances, one about motherhood, that you wrote, and the other about the revolutionary, the person who they were supposed to be and what that kind of person should be. So here, with this as a background, we will now show you the two Sviabi paintings. our pupils dancing. And they didn't know why. They thought, oh, it must be vanity, maybe this. But I think we understand. She saw in her dance the future society. She saw the potential of people. And I'm simply overwhelmed. The fact that it can't be makes it that it has to be. We cannot accept a society that doesn't give us the opportunity to be this kind of person. Now these women have taken the time to keep this little flame alive. And these are people from all over, from Boston, from Long Island, from everywhere, who have spent the last 10 years. And I'm particularly proud of the girls who were in the original centenary company, Judy and Adrian and Laurie. And Beth came afterwards, and she was in the contemporary group. And Beth is now, of course, the teacher of my grandchildren. So all of these people are busy teaching and performing. And I think we could fill Carnegie Hall with the kind of energy that's still coming out of this new generation. So when it's possible, you'll be there to have fun. Have one last number, and it's again in timelessness. The Elysian Fields, a scene from Orpheus. As I told you, Isadora didn't like to be labeled with the term Greek, but she used the Greek legend and the Greek ethos to make this kind of a story. And in the story of Orpheus, she thought she would be able to revitalize the idea of the Greek theater. She didn't dance Orpheus, she didn't dance Eurydice, but she danced the Greek chorus commenting on what the feelings of Orpheus or Eurydice might be. And those of you who've seen the Greek play today know what that means. They comment on the action that's taking place on the scena, and they themselves are filled with the emotion that is going through the hero or the heroine. So in this dance of Orpheus, I have also a strange story of strange things that happened in people's life. When I was about 9 years old, my mother took me to my first music recital. It was a flute play. The flute player was no less than Barrère. I don't know why his name stuck in my head. I was only 9. I don't know why the music that he played remained with me forever. It has become my leitmotif. When I want to hear from Isadora, that's usually the message she relays me through this music, and she's listened. So this dance was very special to me when I learned it. I realized that all these pieces had a meaning, that Orpheus and Barrère and Isadora and the future all coalesce and keep going into infinity.